Speaking of bringing stuff to the Browns, I got a text from one Zach Jackson yesterday.
Oh.
And I'm going to set it up by just explaining this text, and I'm going to pass it off to my friend. Zach said, I've changed my mind on Malik Willis. Let's discuss. So, Zach, let's discuss.
Yeah, so last week I was pretty convinced that the Browns are not in on Malik Willis, right?
Okay,
I just thought, they're stuck with Watson for one more year.
Yeah.
They have Shedeur under contract, and they have other options that are cheaper, longer term, whatever. But the more I've thought about Malik Willis and the more I dug into this situation, I think there's only a handful of teams, and maybe only 3, 4 at the most, who are legitimate suitors for Malik Willis.
The Jets?
Right? The Jets, and that's a maybe, because they might be playing for the future. And the Dolphins are the obvious one. They just hired a coach from Green Bay, a GM from Green Bay. They've been with Malik Willis the last 2 years. Then there's Minnesota, which would obviously be making a move.
Sure.
And we don't know if Minnesota's instead going to trade for Mac Jones or maybe just pursue Kirk Cousins as insurance, something like that. So the Browns are on that short list. The Browns need a quarterback.
Yes.
The Browns just hired a coach because of his offensive prowess in Baltimore, where he built an offense around Lamar Jackson and a mobile quarterback. So Malik Willis is not Lamar Jackson, is not going to be Lamar Jackson. But Malik Willis is an interesting prospect. He's unique because of his lack of experience and the unknown.
Right.
But when you look at his skill set in his best game last year, you know who was on the other sideline for that game? Todd Monken. So I just believe the Browns have to. This is not a belief. This is a known. The Browns have to look and evaluate every single option, from Anthony Richardson to Mac Jones to Tanner McKee to Malik Willis. But they will have, this is where I've changed, they will have the opportunity to be a real suitor for Malik Willis. Will Malik Willis choose them? Will they ultimately get in a bidding war if that comes? But I just think the certainty that they will have a chance to do that leads me to, as they go through all of these options, dozens and dozens of them, this one's always going to be at the top of the list. Will they pursue it? Will it work? I don't know. But I have shifted my thinking into this is very real.
Do you think he's definitely has a better skill set than Shedeur Sanders?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. I think he has a stronger arm.
Yeah.
And I think he's more of a dynamic weapon. So Shedeur is a pretty good scrambler, probably better than I thought.
Yeah.
Shedeur is certainly worth more development to this team, and this team has the commitment to Shedeur at a very low price. So any decision you make that would involve moving away from that, certainly you have to talk about. And we don't know where this team is or thinks it's going to be. But if this team thinks that it can contend in kind of a wonky AFC North right now, and really thinks that it has a defense that's truly as legitimate as it played for most of last year, then going after Malik Willis makes sense. And if it makes sense, they have a chance to be very involved in the bidding.
Jason, you buying what Zach's selling here?
Yeah, I'm buying it. I just haven't like planted a flag in any quarterback yet because it's still too early in the process. I kind of want to get to Indy next week and just sort of get a better feel of the land. But I said a few weeks ago, somebody's paying Malik Willis. One of these teams is paying him. I think Miami's in a full tank. Right. I don't know if you agree with that.
Correct, and that's why it's not a certainty.
That's why I don't think
they
he
just
goes
cut
to Miami.
like
That's why
guys.
I'm saying they cut Chubb.
Well, they had to do that regardless.
Okay,
they did.
All right,
they were so bloated with the cap.
Right,
but it just feels to me like they're pivoting to a full tank and worrying about a quarterback in next year's draft. So I don't know that they're
very well could be possible.
So I don't know
what
that
about Arizona? We considering them?
We are considering them, but I think they're in the same boat. They're either going to find a way to make it work with Kyler, or they're in a full tank. I mean, they're in a loaded division right now, and they're in a bad way from a talent standpoint.
So if we believe that about Arizona, Miami, then it's really just the Browns, the Jets,
here's
and
where,
Minnesota.
Here's where I get hung up is who do the Browns think they are? Are they really just a quarterback away? I don't think they are. I think there's holes all over the place.
Let me counterpoint that.
Yeah.
Okay. They shouldn't think that, and they aren't that. But when you have an opportunity to get a real quarterback, that's what it's about. And that's where they failed miserably and repeatedly. So where you are right now, you can afford him right now in year one. You can plan accordingly.
Right.
And if you look and you don't love Garrett Nussmeier, Ty Simpson, the idea of a project, you don't think that the Shedeur development curve leads you to anywhere, then this is probably an opportunity that rates above many of them.
I just think I think at this point, and I'm not saying I won't get there eventually, I do think that Malik is kind of a massive risk in what you have to pay him compared to what you know what are you getting?
I mean, the only thing, if you're signing Malik Willis, I think you got to be as sure as you can be that he's a long-term answer, not just a short-term thing.
There is that uncertainty, but what are the Browns best at? right? Pushing money down the road.
Yes.
I'm dead serious. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
get a laugh out
No.
of you.
No, yeah.
So you afford him in year one, and you build around him with what the coach has already succeeded at doing. And if it fails, then it's for somebody else down the road. That's
true.
what they've done.
That's true.
It feels like last year, I felt like last year, Jimmy was pretty realistic about where they were. They took this big swing and a miss at quarterback. It was a mistake. It didn't work, and it's going to take them time to dig out of it. Right? That's what he said. That's what he told us at the
Yes.
owners'
Much
meetings.
verbatim.
Yes.
And I thought he's exactly right. That is reality of where the Browns are at. And now a year later, it just feels like the messaging is completely different. That should have won more games, and this is a better team. And I'm like,
Well, you fired the coach, so you saying they should have won more games.
yeah, but I don't understand in 1 year, how did we get from, I thought he had a pretty realistic pulse on where things were, and the season went, I mean, it was bad at times. It was really bad. But I thought that they would win about where they were. They beat a team that I didn't think they would beat, and they lost to a couple teams I thought they would. Right. But by and large, it kind of went how I thought it was going to go.
Right.
And then you fire the coach and you say you should have been better. Well, a year ago, you were that's not what you were saying.
Right.
Yeah. So why are you now fast-tracking this? You just pour all this money into this quarterback who's a massive unknown, who's had a couple of really great games. But for the most part, I don't think anybody can say Malik Willis is a sure thing. I don't know.
6 starts, 314 snaps. Right?
How did the Packers get Malik Willis? Do you know?
They traded a 7th-round pick for him at the end of the 2024 preseason.
So, my concern, I guess, at the end of the 2024 preseason is if the Browns, if Andrew Berry was so sure that Malik Willis could be the guy, why didn't they make a move for them then?
Well, it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Then they were stuck. They had
They were
signed
all in
Jameis.
on-
They were all in on Watson. Everything
Yeah.
was about that. They had chosen
Yeah, I guess
DTR
they still were
as their
at this
developmental guy.
Yeah.
Right. So, boy, I would say 2 things. One is ultimately, if you think this guy is the answer, you almost have to, because
Agreed.
it doesn't matter how you got there. It doesn't
That's
matter
true.
that you didn't like him at all in the
I
draft.
agree with that.
It doesn't matter that. The secondly, though, I want to be clear. If I'm flag planting, it's a good term here. I'm still flag planting on they're keeping Shedeur, they're keeping Watson, and they're going another way. I'm just saying, over the last week, not talking to anyone, just researching the landscape, thinking about how this could go, might go. I've gone from Malik Willis being like a really afterthought to the Browns' plans to, hey, they have a chance to be in this.
Right.
And this makes a lot more sense than I initially thought.
And if you, like right now, I think the assumption is that Shedeur Sanders, at the very least, is going to be in a 2-man competition with somebody to be the starter on this team and might even be the favorite.
This
at the moment.
changes that. If you get
Right.
Malik Willis,
He's
there's
the
no
guy.
competition.
Yes. He's the guy. That's it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Right.
What's a realistic contract? What's Malik going to get this year?
He's going to get 35 or so guaranteed. So
Over how long?
Well, you're going to stretch it out. That's what you do.
Oh, I think you're saying 35 per year.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Justin Fields signed 30 guaranteed last year with the Jets.
Right.
It was a flop, but it only cost them $8 million the first year.
Okay.
And then now they will spread the remaining
Right.
whatever.
Right,
it
right,
is.
So I guess that's would be my question is how long? I mean, you're not even fully divorced from your first wife, and now you're running down the aisle again. So how long would you be tied to this? And if it, I mean, with the sample size on him is so small, if it doesn't work, can you get out of this after next year?
Well, here's how this goes. Embrace what you are, right? The Guardians, they're not going to spend a dime. They got to develop their young guys. The Cavs, they're knocking on the door. Let's go get James Harden. So the Browns, we overspend. We push money 8, 9, 3 decades down the road. So here's a quarterback that we think fits what we want to become. And we obviously, what we have been isn't good enough.
Right.
And we hired a coach specifically to make us better on offense.
Yeah.
And we have these investments. We're restarting everywhere. The guts of the offense are gone.
Yeah.
The receiving core is a joke. Like, this is an opportunity that you have to pursue.
I mean, I've been on record.
Explore.
I don't think Shedeur's the answer. That's pretty obvious to me. So I don't want to like shoot down every idea. I guess the only hesitation I would have with Malik is, again, like, what is your long term? Is this going to hurt to get out of a year from now if you do this and you're like, oh, that didn't work?
But if you gave it, let's say it's a 3-year deal where the guaranteed money is only for the first 2 years. What's the worst case scenario there? I mean,
More dead money.
right? Just and then you're still drafting a quarterback or whatever.
And then you win what, 7, 8 games next year,
right? And then you're not in a position.
and now you're sort of in purgatory.
Yeah.
and-
Well, but you sign Malik Willis,
Yeah.
right? You make a minor move here.
Yeah.
Veteran. Now you're looking to trade picks if any option comes up. I mean, you're looking to add to your offensive line. You're looking for your left tackle. In the future,
Yeah.
you're looking for. But like, if any opportunity to get extra ammo for the 27 draft, just like they did, comes up,
Yeah.
now you're into it, and you're
That's
probably
true.
into it anyway.
Yeah.
But you're saying
I do think that I'm conflicted. I think there needs to be a sense of urgency only because defense has a shelf life. And this defense
Yeah.
is terrific.
Yes.
It's not going to be this elite defense 3
Well,
years from now.
I mean,
so
you
it
feel
feels
bad
like
players are getting old.
It might not be 6 months from now. Let's
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Defenses are fickle. They're
Yes.
up and down from year to year, even
so
with the talent they have.
I do sense the urgency. I do feel the urgency of you got to go. You got to build
Yeah.
this fast because it's
do you
not,
believe in Malik Willis? I mean, like, how
You're
good do you
looking
think
at
he
pick
is?
24 and 39 and whatever flexibility comes with that, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at Garrett Nussmeier. You're looking at Ty Simpson. You're looking further down the road at total developmental guys to let what you have play here. Like,
Yeah.
tell me Malik Willis doesn't jump out there. And I agree. Like, you have the Shedeur thing.
Yeah.
Watson is just an afterthought.
Yeah.
He's on the team because he has to be.
Right.
So when you look at all of these options, right, and Trey Lance probably isn't it, and Anthony Richardson probably isn't it, and Tanner McKee probably isn't it, right?
Right.
And Mac Jones might not want you. And again, they might get told that Malik Willis doesn't want them.
Right.
Because if Minnesota wants Malik Willis, it's because Minnesota thinks they can go to the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
If Miami wants Malik Willis has that built in to some extent.
Right.
It's Packers South now.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't know, but I'm just saying, like, when you start to lay it out and that's how you have to evaluate
Right.
these decisions. Now, it is a huge commitment.
Yeah.
From a numbers standpoint, a trade for Mac Jones makes much more sense if you think you're close, because you're only getting a 1-year deal on
Yeah.
a 3-year base, and you can. But you know, the bottom line to me is the money hasn't mattered. They have
Yeah.
the one thing they've been consistent in doing is taking money and worrying about it later.
To me, if it's between Mac Jones and Malik Willis, I'm not really convinced of either guy. But I'd rather go with Malik Willis because I think I know what Mac Jones' ceiling is, and I don't think it's that high. Malik Willis.
you
a
guys
fair
said that.
thought.
You guys said that about Sam Darnold a couple years ago. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, Sam Darnold was always this
Sam
big,
Darnold's better than
athletic
Mac Jones.
guy.
But
Mac had a really good rookie year. Now, maybe it was a mirage. We were at the game when they beat the hell out of the Browns in New England, and I remember thinking, my God, the Patriots just did it again. Here's their next quarterback for the next
Wasn't that Bailey
10
Zappi?
years. No, that was here.
that game was
Zappy
here.
was here.
Bailey Zappi
The
was
game
here.
up there, that's when Miles said we didn't make any adjustments in the second half. And
yeah, right.
That
And-
game was 21. The Zappy game was 22 bowl.
Okay.
So I'm just saying there
Yeah.
is a little, obviously there's more track record with Mac Jones than with Malik. Malik is a total wild card, and he
Right.
may wind up being a stud because coming out he had a lot of good traits. He was just raw,
Yeah.
and he needed to develop. Well,
Right.
that's what he's been doing for the last however many years.
Right.
And Bull, you raised a good question.
Yeah.
Like, if this guy was that good, why did he go 86 overall?
Yeah,
Why did
right.
no other team? He
Yeah.
was free 2 summers ago.
Right, yeah.
It's how it worked out. You can't worry about that. This is about the
Right.
future. And if I'm Todd Monken and I'm sitting here in these meetings,
Yeah.
draft meetings and the free agency meetings, this is what you hired me to build this offense, and this is what it becomes.
Yeah.
Like, Malik Willis is the fit.
And if you get Malik Willis, I think it makes even more sense to go get Romeo Doubs as well, because obviously they played together in Green Bay.
Sure.
And he's probably the best realistic option for them in terms of free agency at the position. Solid player, not a stud, but solid player.
Yeah, and now you're going to have to make decisions elsewhere but you're going to have to anyway. Like,
Yeah.
this is an ongoing process.
Yeah. All right, Mike.
Question real quick, just to tie it back to where we started the show, and I think I know the answer. Just curious what you think. Obviously, the Browns could have to replace up to 5 starters on the offensive line. With all the turmoil, and Shedeur was more mobile than I think a lot of us gave him credit for, would having a mobile quarterback like a Malik Willis be more attractive or be incentivized to go more mobile quarterback because of the makeshift offensive line that we're putting together? Or do you think those
And
things
how athletic
obviously-
is he? I haven't seen him play enough. Like, where is he in the pantheon of athleticism and quarterbacks?
Yeah, he's 225 and he can move.
Yeah, okay. So he's near the top.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
built like a tank. Yeah, he moves.
Yeah.
So
All right. And
I think that's what people in Green Bay say.
Yeah.
Is that, of course, he failed miserably in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And as he earned the trust of his coaching staff, they took the training wheels off. And it wasn't just get out there and here's your 3 plays and it's designed bootlegs.
Right.
It's now we're going to let you run an offense. And that's what you want to see from a developing
Absolutely,
quarterback.
yeah.
And that's how a guy goes from being nearly out of the league to sitting on 35, 45 million guaranteed.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, he's made 6 starts. He's played
Right, we just don't
314
know.
NFL snaps.
Yep.
It's a,
His fewer
Shedeur
pass
threw
attempts than
212 passes just last year.
yeah.
So
it is
that's-
crazy.
That's a very small sample size.